Good morning, everyone. We're continuing here in the PELE YOETZ as he teaches us about Purim and tremendous mitzvahs and the hashgacha, the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu took care of us. And we mentioned yesterday this idea that Hashem is makdim refuah lamaka, which means He brings the healing solvent. He brings the salvation before He even brings the makkah, before the patch comes from the Ribbono Shel Olam. And that was that although the Jewish people misbehaved at going to the Suda, Shel Oisei Rasha, the meal of that terrible wicked person, Achashverosh, and they weren't supposed to be there, and therefore they deserved to be annihilated by their enemies. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made it that Vashti was killed at that Suda, at that meal. As a result, we know that there was a beauty pageant that was held, and Esther, who is a Jewish woman, ends up becoming the queen. And the salvation ends up coming through Esther being in the palace as the queen to Achashverosh. And therefore Hashem prepares the refuah, He prepares the salvation, even before He brings about the makkah, the yisurim, the suffering, the challenges, and the hits that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives. And at the end of the story of Purim, the refuah, the salvation came through another mishta yain, another festive meal. And that festive meal was that when Esther invited Haman and Achashverosh to her meal, and it ends up that at that particular time Achashverosh sees the insidious behavior of Haman, and he decides time has come that Haman's going to leave this world, and he gets hung on the gallows, he gets hung on the trees that he himself wanted to hang Mordechai the Jew from. And in the end, everything turns around at that point, and the Jewish people become victorious through our tshuva, through our tefillah, through everything that we did. And we end up going and we end up pushing away and destroying our enemies, and the enemies don't touch us. Miraculous days for Klal Yisrael. Umitoich kach, and because of this, kavu hayomim ha'ele yemei mishta v'simcha. These days of Purim are affixed as days of mishta, as celebration, v'simcha, and joy. They are very precious and special days because of the salvation that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wrought for Klal Yisrael. Because of the fact that we went to the Suda, we used it for the wrong things, and then we ended up being misak, and we fixed everything up through our tshuva and our fasting and coming close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And since that the mishta, the final meal that Esther made, that party that she made from Haman and Achashverosh, was the place in which Klal Yisrael ended up becoming victorious. So the Yom Tov of Purim is the day of mishta, of Suda, a festive meal, v'simcha, and joy. V'zachinu ba'arba mitzvos, and we merited to have 4 mitzvos of this holiday. Mikra Megillah, number 1, reading the Megillah. Number 2, umishta v'simcha, is the festive meal and rejoicing. Number 3, umishlayach manos ish l'reho, when you send over the manos, you send over the food items, one person to another. Umatanos le'evyonim, and we give gifts, we give monetary gifts, le'evyonim, to the poor people who are in need of support. Ve'hein mitzvahs chavivos habais mizman lizman. These are treasured, precious, beloved mitzvahs that come from year to year, v'soidan ram v'nisa, and the real, more mystical secrets of these mitzvahs are very deep and very lofty. The ram v'nisa v'roy li zayar ben, a person should be very careful with them. And a person should do them the way that it is brought down in the halacha to be able to do, to fulfill the great secrets, the great loftiness, the beauty and the glory of these mitzvahs. How do you do that? Mikra Megillah, when you want to read the Megillah, which is a mitzvah that takes place at night of Purim and during the day of Purim. Ois ba'ois, teva b'teva. You have to read it letter by letter, word for word. B'safa brua u'ne'ima, and it should be done with a clear language, u'b'ne'ima, and it should be pleasant. That's the way that the Megillah should be read. And even someone who doesn't know how to read the Megillah themselves, Yidchayk atzmai, they should push themselves, v'yivakesh beratzei kesef mishi yomer itay, and they should even be willing to pay large amounts of money if necessary to find someone who is able to read it for them, and stay right by their side. Because if a person wants to fulfill the mitzvah of reading the Megillah by hearing it read from somebody else, it's almost certain, says the PELE YOETZ, that it's going to be very hard to fulfill this mitzvah in the best possible way. Why? It's almost impossible that you're not going to hear at least one word that's being said. Meaning that, and everybody knows this who goes to the shuls at night and during the day, and you hear someone reading the Megillah, you always have that voice in your head that's saying, did I hear that word? Did he say that word? I'm not sure. Did he say it? Because they swallow their words, they maybe say something a little bit too soft, you're too far away to hear it, and therefore he's suggesting that a person tries to get as close to the Balkari, to the one that is laning and reading the Megillah, in order that you can ensure that you will be able to hear every single letter, every single word that is being said. The Mikra Megillah itself is the Pirsumi Nisa, it is the publicization of the miracles that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made. We read it to strengthen ourselves in understanding just how miraculous the story of Purim is, and therefore we don't want to miss a word, not even a letter, of the miracles that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made for Klal Yisrael. Have a wonderful day.